On August 14th, around 12:30 a.m., Typhoon Yagi made landfall along the coast of Zhangpu County, Zhangzhou City, Fujian Province. The maximum wind force near the landfall center reached level 11, bringing violent winds and heavy rain. Reports of disasters quickly spread across the region. In Fuqing, Fujian, a wind turbine was blown down and snapped in half. Many trees were uprooted, and billboards were torn off and smashed into cars. Videos circulating online showed streets in ruins after the typhoon passed, covered with broken branches and large trees torn out by their roots. Stalls were blown over and lay scattered across the streets. Local residents described the terrifying night. One said, "My husband told me the strongest winds came between midnight and 1 a.m. The windows were rattling so hard I thought they might fall. It was terrifying. I was so afraid I'd be hit and killed by falling branches while delivering food." Another resident in Guangdong said, "The cars downstairs were crushed with trees knocked over by the wind. It didn't even rain, but the wind was so strong. From my apartment on the 6th floor, it felt like the whole building was about to be blown away." People reported that the gales were so fierce they could barely stand. Trees were uprooted, and doors rattled violently. From the windows, they could see nothing but raging winds. As Typhoon Yagi moved inland, it also brought strong winds and torrential rain to Guangdong, Guangxi, Hunan, and Guizhou. Foshan and Guangdong was hit by downpours, with some streets turning into rivers. In Dongguan, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou, floodwaters reached chest level, subways were suspended, and roads were paralyzed. In Meizhou, all primary and secondary schools, kindergartens, and training institutions were forced to suspend classes. Netizens in Guangdong said, "It feels like Guangdong has gone crazy, one typhoon after another. The rain is so heavy today that my balcony is completely flooded." Another joked, "After this massive storm, are mosquitoes going to explode in number?" When Yagi struck Guangdong, the skies over Guangzhou suddenly turned black with thick clouds, as if night had fallen. In Dongguan, residents posted videos showing that at 11 a.m. the city was shrouded in darkness, like the end of the world. Foshan residents complained that the entire city was flooded because every storm drain had been fitted with anti-mosquito screens. Now, mosquitoes can't get out, but the water can't flow out either. The whole city is underwater. Is this a natural disaster or a man-made one? They filmed deep water submerging countless cars, with people saying, "Look how deep it is. Cars are submerged everywhere. How can we even walk through this?" Another resident said, "In Longjiang, Foshan, the downpour was so heavy that all motorcycles were swept away. Electric bikes floated on the water, and the flood looked like ocean waves. It's ridiculous. We can't even get back home." Many netizens angrily blamed the so-called experts, saying, "This disaster was man-made. They installed mosquito nets over every drainage outlet to fight mosquito breeding, but now the rainwater has nowhere to go. The whole city is paralyzed." In Foshan's smart new city, office lobbies became ponds, electric bikes and cars were destroyed, and residents were calling for rescue. At the same time, it can prevent mosquitoes from entering the sewers. If certain parts allow mosquitoes to enter, measures will be taken to temporarily stop their spread. For those who refuse to cooperate, more serious restrictions will apply. In Foshan, heavy rain lasted for an entire day, flooding many streets. Over the past month, in order to prevent the spread of dengue fever, many drainage outlets on the roads had been fitted with wire mesh to block mosquitoes from breeding. However, after this storm, some residents noticed that drainage in certain sections had become slower. Whether it was due to the heavy rain overwhelming the system or for other reasons, flooding reached knee level, submerging half of many car wheels. Electric bicycles were inundated, and shops had to move their goods. Some residents recalled that similar flooding had happened just 2 weeks earlier. Some residents expressed fear, shouting repeatedly, "I'm afraid you will," while others exclaimed as foam and bubbles filled the water, covering even the vehicles. Cars began to float, and water continued to rise until it reached the ankles of people standing in the streets. People worried about their vehicles being towed away by traffic police, which would add extra costs such as fines or parking fees. Many felt helpless, describing the situation as bizarre. This year, floods have struck many parts of China. In Fujian County, Zhangzhou City, Gansu Province, catastrophic floods and mudslides occurred. According to rescuers, many missing people remain unaccounted for, and chances of survival are slim. Including the missing, the death toll may reach at least 1,000, though official sources have blocked information. On the night of August 7th, heavy rainfall continued in Fujian County, triggering landslides on Mount Maxian and Mount Xinglong. Massive torrents of mud and rocks rushed downhill, with some boulders weighing tens of tons. 5 towns at the foot of the mountains were devastated, with several villages almost completely destroyed. Rescuers reported that by midnight, many people had already died at inns near Xinglong Mountain. Mud reached up to 12 meters high, submerging entire villages. In just 1 week, nearly 100 bodies were recovered. Many more were buried under the mud, but rescue teams were ordered not to reveal the true scale of the tragedy. Ms. Zhao, a villager from Malian Beach Village in Yuzhong, said that 2 village groups were completely wiped out, including many of her relatives and children who had returned home for the summer. Survivors struggled with hunger and cold nights, lacking supplies such as disinfectant and clothing. Rescuers said the disaster zone was extremely harsh, with many forced to survive on instant noodles. The hardest hit areas included villages such as Jushuanggo, Shangzhuang, and Baijiabao, where more than half the settlements were flattened. Many villagers, asleep at the time, could not escape and were buried or swept away. Every day, more bodies continued to be unearthed. Ms. Zhao further explained that Mount Maxian, known as the low peak of the Luas Plateau, has long suffered from illegal mining and overgrazing, which caused severe soil erosion and vegetation loss. The once beautiful landscape has disappeared, replaced by cracks and rocks. In nearby towns like Chengguan and Xiaokangying, houses were swept away. A local resident, Mr. Li, lost his ancestral home, and his aunt remains missing. He called on authorities to reflect and take action to prevent further environmental destruction and human tragedy. China's wage nightmare, lowest in the world, even below Africa. Economist Lang Xianping revealed that wages in China make up only 8% of GDP, the lowest ratio globally. By comparison, G7 nations are at 50 to 60%, South America 33%, Southeast Asia 28%, the Middle East 25%, and Africa under 20%. This means the fruits of Chinese labor are overwhelmingly taken by the government. Minimum wages in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen are barely 2,500, 2,740 yuan a month, while Taiwan's is equivalent to 6,498 yuan, more than double. Writer Yan Chenggu said this proves how China's public ownership system exploits workers far worse than capitalist countries. He argued that despite China's $18.74 trillion GDP, ordinary people see little benefit. Wealth has long flowed into the pockets of CCP officials through corruption, reckless projects like Belt and Road, and decades of plunder. Today, ordinary Chinese face brutal economic exploitation, political oppression, and the loss of dignity. Mandatory Social Security policies are now crushing small businesses. From September 2025, all enterprises must pay 5 insurances and 1 housing fund for employees. Late fees apply daily, and non-compliant companies face lawsuits. Many small business owners warn this will bankrupt them. Young workers are also hit hard. One female law intern, earning 2,500 yuan, took home only 700 yuan after deductions, barely 30 yuan a day. She broke down in tears, saying she was losing money to work. Social media is flooded with anger, mass layoffs, retirees replacing young workers, and despair over shrinking wages. Once promised liberation, Chinese workers now find themselves treated like leeks, harvested over and over. Increasingly, people are awakening, realizing their suffering comes from the CCP's authoritarian system, and many now openly hope for its collapse. Wages in China have fallen so low that they are now lower than in parts of Africa. This has shattered the myth of China as a land of opportunity. Young people are working long hours for meager pay, trapped in poverty with no way out. Many have begun to question if there is any future left in their homeland. Others dream only of leaving, but even that is out of reach for most. The so-called China dream has collapsed, leaving behind only exhaustion, despair, and silence.